Alright, what's going on? Everyone, it's Supreme Kami over here. So we are going to be doing the last bit of some alteration review. This time around, we are going to be looking at some revive alteration for some warfare unit that we have in the past. So we have Bolt Gundam over here, and then we got Rebawoo, that's how you pronounce it, and then we got one of the drones over here. This drone over here. So I'm just gonna quickly go over them. In terms of the stat, I don't think you guys should take them into like too big of a consideration. I think most of the time they don't come out to have the best of a stat. So I think what we're mainly going to be looking at is how versatile they can be, what kind of vortex set they can be having. So because these are going to be easy level 10, so they may be able to benefit you in getting your work grade to increase your work grade if you so choose to upgrade them to level 99. In terms of the EX skills, I did alter some of them, so I will be doing some damage testing as I'm just talking about them. So they should be on either left or right hand side. So you guys can just kind of see what kind of damage output you can kind of expect from them. Obviously, my build, like in terms of what I have, is definitely may or may not do more power than what you guys can do. So just keep that in mind that the actual damage I'm doing is not a guarantee for example, right? So let's actually start out with the Bolt Gundam over here. I'm just gonna make things a little bit quick over here. So in a general consensus, I will have to say that the head Vulcan is not anything of a particular that you will need to alter. So we just kind of safe to assume that this is not a part you will want. And then in terms of the war tag, this one is going to be mobile fighter and then heavy armor. And then in terms of, obviously mobile fighter is a good tag, but I feel like having a heavy armor is not the most ideal war tag. So this one I would say is safe to say that this one is not a good alteration to be using. So that is that. In terms of the chest over here, per usual, any of these the G Gundam series unit, in terms of the 5 shuffle line unit, all of them do have access to hyper mode, so that is something you're gonna have expect to see. In terms of this one is not anything of a particular I would say that you would need to alter. I think the only benefit this one is looking at over here, you do get a little bit of a speed increases, so that is something you can say, oh, that's good. But I'm pretty sure if you guys don't really care about the speed, I think you can just look at anything that's a little bit easier to farm up over here. This one's going to be good as well in terms of war tag. It's a little bit better. Getting close combat is definitely going to be good for a melee build, no problem. But keep that in mind, if you guys alterated the Master Gundam from a month ago, if you guys do, for example, have that, I think they both share the same war tag if I recall. Let me just take a quick look over here, because I did kind of build it out here already. War tag wise on this one is exactly the same. So let's say you got the max already and you don't really like, let's say, the Bolt Gundam. I don't think you don't really have to double alterate it, for example. I don't recall if the master is actually going to be like a like buffing shot instead, because that one does have a lot of like shooting action going on. But if that is the case, maybe it's going to be a little bit different. But me personally, I don't think I'll be going for the alteration on this one over here, just because of the EXP wise, not really anything of a particular that I would rather use over something else, right? Moving on to the arm over here. So this one is going to be the Gravitation Hammer over here. So this one before alteration, I think is doing about B power, maybe B power. Let me see, maybe he's doing B power, right? Yeah, B power. So obviously after alteration you should be doing a little bit of a tad better damage, but I would say B power for these I think is just completely fine. The stat of this for a melee arm is just completely bad outright. Worst tag then they're gonna drop that heavy armor, which I don't think is too suitable for a melee build anyway. So this is another one of those parts I would say, just because maybe people don't have a lot of those crew credits, to get those light alteration too. Something you do need to keep in mind that in order to get the alteration light blue, you have to have some you have to have at least 175 crew credits, and then you can ask how to get crew credits. I think this week around, or this week and next week, we have one of those a 2-week period long, where if you do the if you play the limited time crew multi-mission, you should be able to grab yourself some good amount of let's say crew credits, where you can just kind of exchange for that. So every one of those achievements should be under the achievement page. So you guys are just wondering how, like, where is this tool, right? Because obviously new players have no idea where to get these. I think this game just has a lot of like stuff going on, so it's just kind of hard. So if anyone is watching it at this point right now and do are wondering where to get that, that is how you can get that as well. Or if you guys are already in a crew, you guys should be getting some crew credits, I think, per login already. I think the crew credit per login is not that much, but I think after every weekend, after every week reset, you guys do get a little bit of a chump chinks of let's say crew credit as well. So that is another way you can be getting that. But arm, I would say probably not for me. In terms of the leg over here, double crit rate up is no, just just no in general. I don't see too much of a purpose of even altering it just because you see double crits. No, this one is not good at all. But let's see the backpack. In terms of the backpack, this one is maybe good. So this one does have a melee power boosted by 25% on the first portrait already. Second portrait, you are looking at a little bit of a crit damage, is like, or piercing damage over here. Piercing is good when you're facing against like a extremely high defensive value enemy. But let's say your enemy has low defense. I don't think you can lower your, let's say, break through your enemy defense by by that much anymore, right? So all in all, piercing is extremely niche. Portrait you can be looking at, it's not that as bad, it's just how versatile it can be. We take a look at the masters. I think the master is outright the better one you can be looked at. I actually did alterate it. It's the first portrait is kind of weak right there, obviously. It's going to be 28% chance of non-recoil. But in terms of the second portrait, you're going to get a buff effects up by 22%. In the general consensus, I would say buff effects it's a lot more better depending on how you use it. Obviously, it can be good and can be bad depending on how you use it. But all in all, I think this one is going to be a lot more better than looking at the Bolt Gundam all in all. So I would say I don't really see just overall in terms of the Bolt Gundam, I don't see too much of a need to alterate any of these parts over here. So that is just my thoughts on it. But if you guys do want obviously the full set of it, I do suggest everyone to get the full set so you guys can get this over here. I'm just gonna mention again, so if you guys do get the full set, the 5 parts from the head to the back, you guys will be adding on the completed collection. Why is completed collection important? Because with the effects requirement, you need around 200. You need exactly 230 completed collection in order to get gear effects up by 15%. This 15% takes into effect of, let's say, let me use the flat 2000 armor over here. You guys can see that it's actually more than just 2000, for example. So that's why it is extremely important to get those up right there. So a little bit of a sidetrack right there, but I feel like I do need to kind of cover it because a lot of people does not know of it. So moving on to the Rebawoo over here. So let's see what we are looking at over here. This is a word tag wise, you are going to be looking at a combo of Zeon and then Commander over here. So this is in the likes of like a dual type ish over here, because Zeon is more for like a melee side, and then Commander is definitely for more of a shooting base over here. So this is more of a pretty niche, extremely niche. But in terms of the portrait wise, it's kind of satisfaction. I would say this one does hit the satisfactory level that you do get an EX skill power boosted by 30%. So if anyone out there is using a Zeon tag, this one is definitely a good option. If you guys don't already have any of the other powerful portrait, this one's definitely good. First portrait is going to increase any projectile speed by 40%. That means any of your, let's say, EX skill that is like a, let's see, I don't know how. Let me see how it phrases. So let's say any of those projectile, maybe like your yeet throw, I think those would get a little bit of a speed increase, just a little bit faster reaching your target. I think, let's say the Legatus back cannon is like a shooting like a ball cannon, whatnot, how I'm describing it. So that will allow that to hit a little bit faster. So it is a pretty niche trait, but I think overall it's a good one to have, I guess. In terms of the standard, you can't really expect too much of the standard parts, but this one can be a good option right there. So this is the EX skill at the Alteration on the left or right hand side. I should be showing up the EX skill for this one over here, just to give you guys a rough idea of like what kind of damage we could be looking at. I think in general, I don't really like, I wouldn't say, oh, you must alterate this EX skill unless for like a specific reason. This one is just being like a D pierce and a B plus power, so you're not looking at anything too, I would say, anything too spectacular. If this one was at least like a B plus, I would definitely say, yep, this one is must alterate. But anything with any alterated EXQ should do a little bit better damage than the base form of it, or the non-alterated version. So I will be taking on my shooter build itself, so you guys can just roughly see what kind of damage output we're looking at. So this one is going to be D plus 11 magazine over here. So all in all, it is pretty good. If you guys do wonders over here. So if you guys want to alterate it, but I would say if you want to be super sliding in any means, not gonna be too good of a choice just because it's the untag. Not gonna be good at all for a shooting build. So you will be losing tremendous stat if you do sub slot, for example. So that is that. The arm is something I did alterate myself as well. This one is the same thing again. So D plus and D and B ratio there, 11 magazines, so not bad overall. So we will just be testing out what kind of damage we were looking at. In terms of overall stat, I don't think it's anything too of a impressive, like not anything of like wowzers over here. So just I think it's more for like rather using the EXQ over here. So in terms of the leg over here, I think it's the same thing again. So this one is actually going to be a flexible beam gun. So it should be right on that hip joint or the waist over there. So this one is going to be B plus. I'm pretty sure pre-alteration it should be like a B power. So I did alterate it myself as well. So just going to give you guys a good example like what kind of damage we can be looking at. So all three of these EXQ I would say is more of like a personal preference. Because the status obviously not something you want to be looking at. Word tag wise, it's good. If you got this one is not good actually. It does not have commander, but these two are definitely gonna be good if you guys are in a, let's say, want to get that commander word grade up to like a higher level. You know, let's say B for example, to get your 3-star or your 3-star gear. I think this is a good approach right here. Not only are you helping out your work rate, you're also benefiting of that EXQ as well. Not bad overall. This is the backpack over here. I think it's this one is actually the same thing as you know, the Bolt Gundam. So this one has a similarity, but if you guys are running the anti-attack, this one can be a good option. But I would just say piercing can be good depending on what your situation is looking at. It's not the best, for example, not the best word tag. Piercing is just a extremely niche option you can be looking at, but you guys do need it for that melee power boosting. By all means, go for that. Alright, moving on to the beam rifle over here. In terms of the beam rifle, this is definitely a good one to be using. Because if you guys are anyone who likes to be doing all those like, let's say enemy EXQ power reduction, this one is actually capping out at a 30%. So this one is definitely a more powerful. And this one is free to play. Keep that in mind. So you can easily get this guy up to a level 10. And you can benefit from that 30%. So this one is actually a good part to get. And then commander actually going to get a 12% initial EXQ charge boosting. So this one is definitely a part I would recommend if you guys are any builder of that caliber that wants to reduce enemy reduction, for example. Good word tag set as well, not bad overall. So this one, the shield is actually something I did not alterate. This one I would say can be a good option, just because you're looking at B minus. But in a general consensus, again, I would say B minus is not going to output as much as, let's say, B plus. So that is something you will have to keep in mind. And then A pierce, you can say, well, it will allow you to stagger your opponent, maybe eventually even break through some defenses. But the example I'm just going to say, what if your opponent does not have good defense to begin with? Like, how would that piercing trigger, right? You know what I mean? So there is to a certain degree, piercing is not going to benefit you the most. Than what power can actually be doing. So I guess that is something you just kind of keep in mind in there as well. So that's why I did not alterate it this year. So that is something you just kind of keep in mind right there as well. And the last unit we need to talk about for this video is going to be the Gundam Throne Drei. Is that how you pronounce it? So this unit is more of like a supporting type unit. So this one will have a supporting type tag over here, which I do suggest that if anyone is trying to prepare for the upcoming, I don't know when, right? But if anyone is trying to prep up for, let's say, the physical resistant mode, this one is definitely going to be one you want to be using, because both these word tag right here is a excellent option to be running into your, let's say, your physical resistant arena mode. That is something I just want to let you guys know if anyone is interested in preparing in like advanced over here. But definitely do collect, like, let's say you have not picked this up as a new player, because I think the Throne Drei probably came out extremely long time ago. Make sure to at least pick up one copy so you can add that onto your collection for that buff effects up, so keep that in mind as we're there. So instead, in terms of the head over here, let's see what we're looking at over here. I think the stat on this one is pretty decent, right? But obviously, if we compare it to recently released Warfare, I think even with Alteration it doesn't really compare to that, so that's quite sad. Word type wise, support type and Gundam type, so a pretty notorious trait for a physical build or physical resistant build, and then as well just for any of your supporting type unit that we'll have right here. So in terms of the trait over here, it's actually pretty bad. First portrait is more of like just kind of it's not good. Second portrait you have to be using on auto mode, and then you're not even gonna get anything of anything too spectacular. So this one is completely no. Crit rate up is just not. It's not a, you can say, you can just say it's not a relevant trait to be using, so we can just skip that for now. Alright, moving on to the chest over here. Let's see what we're looking at. I think the overall stat is pretty evenly distributed. Not bad, I guess. Not anything like up spectacular, right? It's just kind of low balling it. Word tag wise, this one can be a good option. Like I said again, if anyone is interested into those, let's say, enemy reduction type build, this one is definitely another one of those one you can be adding onto your collection. 30% off of this one over here, and since this one over here is a extremely easy to pick up as a level 10, definitely go for that. That is if you guys are running that reduction type build over here. Keep this in mind, this one is going to be a S build only, so if you guys are, let's say, oh, can I really fulfill that requirement, I guess you can still have this for now. It won't hurt by just having this one alterated by enemies. Like I said, this one should be relatively easy to get up to level 10 nonetheless, so this one should be pretty good. Moving on to the armor over here, so we do have another one of your, this one has GN Shield Pots, and it's going to be another one of your B plus Pierce and C powers. This one is actually, I would say on paper it looks worse than, let's say, the other two from the, what was the other unit? I forgot already. What was the other unit? It looks a little bit worse than the Rebawoo here, so I would definitely do another comparison, of course. So it's either going to be on the left or right hand side. I'll be utilizing the EXQ, just to be looking at what we're looking at. I feel like this on paper wise, this looks pretty sad. And then in terms of the magazine size, it's only 7, while the other one on the Rebawoo you're looking at around 11. So that is actually a lot more. But I'll do some damage testing just to see what we're looking at. But I did alterate this. I am going to be alterating this myself, so I will definitely give you guys what kind of like damage up what we're looking at. So this one alterated at your own cost, I guess, just because these EXP wise, I would say they're just both like here and there. Like we've seen these a lot already, so I guess missing 1 or 2 is not going to make like a extremely big difference, I would say. But in terms of the word portrait wise, those are definitely something I would go over just in case, like, because we don't know when these will actually come back. So I'll say EXP wise, they're not the most important, but portrait, if you guys miss it around, it's just gonna be a little bit unfortunate. This one is if you guys are using a supported job license over here, you do get an EXQ cooldown reduced by 15%. This one is good all in all, but I think the only downside of this one is locking down to a supported type job license over here. So I would rather take something that's a type specific instead. I think that's one we've seen so far, type specific instead of like a job license, so I'd rather take that instead. But this one is at 15%, nonetheless it's a pretty good pickup as well. Second portrait is not the best, so I would say it's definitely not something you would need to alterate. I think just farming out the 13 copies of this one is totally fine already, so that's that. Alright, so moving on to the backpack over here, we do have another EXQ one over here. So this one is one of your buffer category ones. So this one is a GN Stouch view over here. So this one is actually going to be more of a defensive type buffer over here. So this one is actually going to raise 3 effects over here. Going to raise the melee and shot defense up by 19%. Also going to raise beam system by 49%, and also physical system up by 29%. But even with all these over here, just keep that in mind. I don't think anyone can even tank a custom EXQ unless you guys are running those. Let's say you guys are running like a complete enemy reduction type power trait like this one over here. If you're like running 100% of these over here, let's say you get maybe 3 or 4 copies that has the same exact word tag or portrait, then you have an extremely good chance of like tanking it. Just because like just our overall defense is not high enough, not gonna be enough to tank it. Even with what you're looking at over here, it is just not enough. So this right here, you have to be using something alongside of that. Maybe let's say I think there are some actually debuffing uh, of these EXQ that kind of lower your enemy attacks and all that. If you coincide with that, you can definitely do it. I would say, but that is a little bit more of a hassle because buffing and debuffing, they have their own unique say EXQ buffing. So there's actually trade that say debuffing EXQ effects up. So that is that. But just all in all, like this is not. It's not gonna make the biggest difference for by any means, but I can say that if you pair this up alongside, let's say, buff effects up, I think that would definitely raise it by a lot. Let's say you run a unit that has at least, I don't know, 80, like 50 to 80 buff effects up. I think that would definitely save this portrait or this DX on in general. But this really depends on whether or not you want to be that supporting type role. But if you guys are, this one would definitely be a good option right there as well. Alright, moving on to the beam saber right now. Let's see what the beam saber has in store for us. The status, like obviously we're not really looking at the stat, they're just extremely low over here. In terms of the portrait, I don't think it's anything too spectacular that you will really need to pay attention to. Second portrait is on auto again. So it's just a really niche choice to be looking at. I don't know how many people actually run stuff on auto. But if you guys are, maybe this one can be something you can add onto your arsenal. But other than that, if you guys are someone who just mainly play as manual, this one may not be the best of choice over here. So all in all, for the Gundam Throne Drei over here, and I feel like the only one I'll probably take into consideration is just maybe the chest. For that enemy EXP reduction type over here. Other than that, I think all the other one are just cut mediocre-ish over here. So with that being said, that should be pretty much it for these return rerun alteration for these warfare parts over here. So with that being said, I will catch you guys all on the next one.